So my journey to become a performance coach really started my junior year of high school. And I was from a small town in Illinois called Pekin, Illinois. And I had a really successful junior season year in football. And you know, the recruiters started contacting me, the letters started coming, phone calls started coming. Of course, that felt good as a young, 17-year-old high school kid from little small town Illinois. But what happened next probably was the most significant part of my life. I was going into my senior year. It was really 1 week before the very first game of the season. I was a running back as well as a linebacker. I ran a play and got hit. And then frankly, it took my knee out. It actually locked it up. Fell down, and I knew exactly what had happened. I remember sitting in the wheelchair in the emergency room and crying like a baby. And because where my mind was at that time was my entire world, all the things that I had created around me as far as what I was significance was gone. I'll never forget talking to the doctor, the surgeon, and asking him how soon it was going to be before I could leave. He said, when you pick your leg up off the bed, you can leave. That's no big deal. It was 3 days later that I was able to pick my leg up off the bed and be able to leave the hospital. My mother picked me up. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, "Mom, we're going to the football field." I had my crutches. I'm sitting there all anxious and excited to get out to the football field. Going with my crutches, and I was stumbling. I just took those crutches and threw them. I was pissed, frankly. I walked up a hill to the weight room at our high school. I started working my leg out. In fact, the muscles had atrophied so much that as I was working out, that muscle started to develop, and actually I got infection in my incision because of the tension that was on the actual sutures at that time. I was able to get back on the field for the last 3 games, but that's not the story behind why I became a performance coach. That was only the beginning of it. Football season came and went. The phone calls had stopped, the letters had stopped, and I was a pretty decent baseball player. And I'll never forget, it was about a month into the season, and I went to my coach, Coach Bob Beal. Baseball Bob is what we called him. Bob was actually the brother-in-law of Jimmy Sundberg, caught for the Rangers. I said, "Hey coach, I need to talk to you." "Yeah, what do you want, Gorsuch?" I said, "You know what, I really want to play college baseball." "Yeah, what's the problem?" I said, "Well, it's where I want to play." He goes, "What's the big deal?" I said, "I want to play at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale." Now, this is where that significant moment came. The little guy that sat on my shoulder at that time, the next thing was telling me was going to come out of his mouth was, "Gorsuch, you've had a good run. You've done pretty well, but why don't you kind of set your sights more on like a junior college or Division III or Division II school?" I mean, SIU had just come off of getting 3rd in the College World Series. But that's not what came out of his mouth. In fact, I'm an emotional guy and I'm pretty passionate about what I do. He said, "You can do that." I can tell you exactly the constellation of the clouds in the sky. I can tell you exactly the smell of the grass. I can tell you the temperature of the air. That's how significant that moment was. You can do that. I went on to actually play at SIU Carbondale, made the team, walked on. In fact, the funny thing was when I met Richie Itchy Jones, he said to me, he goes, "Gorsuch, I'm not going to treat you any different than anybody else." I didn't expect it. I was a walk-on. There were 300 outfielders that tried out. I made the team. But the greater story behind that is the next day that I was able to sit in front of the coaches was 2 weeks later. The next time I was able to meet with them, and they came to me after 2 weeks of practice and they say, "Hey, Gorsuch, would you be interested in going to Chipola Junior College in Florida for 2 years and then coming back?" In my mind, or my mind, what is at that time was, Why would I want to do that? I just made a Division I baseball team. Why would I want to go to the junior college? Those two incidences, the incidents where the coach said to me, you can do that, and the instance when I said, why would I do that, is why I coach. Because how many of us have no one to tell us you can do that? And then more importantly, how many of us don't have somebody to say, no, your greatness has yet to be achieved. Don't limit yourself to what you have set up in your mind. You know what, life happens, but more importantly, I've been guided by God into this role as a performance coach, and I thank God every day for the opportunity to impact lives. And I hope that sometime I get a chance to meet you, and more importantly, maybe you get a chance to impact mine as well.